Hello, everybody, and it's Sasha here. Hi. And it's nearing the tail end of our Free to Fly conference now. I want to start by saying I am so sorry we're late. We had some lovely technical difficulties, which I still am not sure how I corrected, but we're all on the air and we're live. And you know what? We have the most amazing thing today, which gets me super excited, although I'm sure you're all used to my being super excited. And again, this is all sponsored by the Freebird Project. It's the Free to Fly conference. It is designed to help get the word out and to help show off amazing fashions like these, purchase of which helps us fund some of the amazing works that we do. Now, today I have Stephanie Ghoston with me, and I am super stoked. She is going to talk with us and interact with us on how to activate your extraordinary, essentially. And she's a matchmaker. I'm sorry, but that had to be the very first thing that I said. She knows. I've fixated on it, but she's a best-selling author. She's a coach. Gosh, she's done so many great things. But what I'll do is I'm going to hand it over to her now because she'll be able to tell you all about it. Go right ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you, Sasha, and thank you for working through the technical difficulties. I mean, technology, right? Well, as Sasha said, I'm a life coach and a business consultant. I'm a recovering lawyer, which I tell everyone. And my job is to help you stop settling in life, love, and business. And I really specialize in finding ordinary ways to live extraordinarily. So I'm very excited today to be talking to you all about how to activate your extraordinary. And I'll be using a combination of slides and just having a conversation with Sasha so she can interact with me and give me that energy I need. I feed off of energy, so I like interaction.
Oh, that's just.
I'll be using a combination of slides and just having a conversation with Sasha so she can.
Oh, hey, wow. Your video is complete. We're good. But so I gotta love the technical difficulties today. But I think that's absolutely fantastic. We're gonna have so very much fun, and I'm super stoked to see the slides. Now I have to stop and say, recovering lawyer. That's a woman after my own heart. I actually did the same thing. I did some legal studies, the whole kit and caboodle, decided not to go that way, and I'm going to steal that line. I love it. So we are just so lucky to have you here. So why don't you kick off with your presentation? We'll get right into it. I'm stoked.
Yes. You are a smart lady to have walked away. But I will get started. And I'm just going to start by talking about my journey. And this is like one of my favorite graphics. I went from a lawyer to like a bleeding heart. That's the outside perception. But as most coaches, consultants, practitioners know, your best client is usually yourself. So I started my Activate Your Extraordinary platform because I had to figure out how to activate my own extraordinary. And when I first started, I was going through the motions. I had a job. I was working in DC. I was, in an economy where not a lot of people had a job. I was like considered lucky to have one. So there was that. Then I was the first person in my family to go to college and grad school. So there was that pressure. And mostly, I just wasn't happy with my life. I was kind of drifting. I was on autopilot. And I just never found a good fit within the legal field. I would either love the practice and hate the hours. I was working crazy hours. Or I would hate my coworkers, love the hours, and the stuff that I was doing on a day-to-day basis, I wasn't very passionate about. So when I transitioned to becoming a lawyer, to becoming a life coach, I got a lot of side eyes. But right before then, I had this moment. It was really a breakthrough moment where my then boyfriend at the time, we got in this huge argument.
Oh,
and
no.
He was like, you're smothering me. You're getting on my nerves. This is so annoying. And he said one thing that just changed my life entirely. He said, Stephanie, you need to get a life. And I was like, how dare you? And I was pissed. But I was,
well, of course.
when I looked back, I said, yeah, actually, I don't have a life. I recognized that my life had bled into his. My goals were his goals. My friends were his friends. And I'm like, well, what do I like to do? I don't even know. Like, what does Stephanie like to do? So one of those things that I love to do, that I knew that I loved to do, was music. So I was like, okay, there was this concert that I wanted to go to, and he didn't want to go. So I said, I'm going to go by myself. I don't need him to go. I'm just going to go. And I went, at the time I was living in DC, I went to Baltimore, Maryland. I went to the concert by myself. I was I was admittedly a little bit tipsy, but I had the best time of my life. I knew all the words. I was with strangers, but it was great. And so I want to share with you guys this picture. I was ridiculously happy, right? Ridiculously happy. And having that moment really made me reevaluate. I'm like, if I'm so happy right now, why haven't I been this ridiculously happy in the past 6 months? And so I started asking more and more questions. I asked, when was the last time I felt extremely satisfied? What about the last time I felt fulfilled? The last time I felt really happy and loved? So I'll pose those questions to you, Sasha. When is the last time you were ridiculously happy?
Oh my gosh, actually, maybe far too frequently these days. I just got married in September. Yeah, September 12th.
Yes.
And moved to the middle of nowhere, BC, so it's nice and quiet. My birthday's in a couple of days. I'm getting, something really amazing. And I mean, and I play video games with my husband. We're player one, player two. Like, we're 100% compatible. It's wonderful. And so I'm insanely happy all the time.
Good. See, that's good. You can't have those moments too frequently. That's amazing.
So
And congrats on being newlywed. I just got married in August, so it's very, very new. And happy early birthday too.
Those happen every year. I call them level ups now. I'm
Level up.
that awesome. I level up every year, but we will not disclose the levels anymore. I have a level cap in place, thank you, and there's no DLC. But nonetheless,
that is amazing. That's amazing. Well, unlike you, my moments of happiness were few and far between, and so I was like, well, what can I do to get back to that? I need to get back to this space of being ridiculously happy. But I was looking all outside of myself. I was called in the top dogs. I was like, Oprah, give me a breakthrough. Tony Robbins, please come through. I was like, Deepak Chopra. I remember at the time reading this article. Deepak hadn't gotten mad in a year. And just reading that sentence pissed me off because I was like, I'm mad all the time. I can't do this. And it wasn't till I read this book, The Inside Out Revolution, that talked about the thing that you're looking for, you already have and you already are, right? So like, as a baby, we don't need therapy. We're happy, whole, satisfied, loved. As children, we dream freely. And as we get older, we learn ways of being and rules, right? What's possible, what's realistic, what we should and shouldn't do. We're shooting all over people, right? And we put these layers on, right? And I also knew that because of my past experiences, I was trying to avoid certain things. I didn't want to get hurt again, so I didn't act in a certain manner. I put a layer on top of who I really was. And so activating your extraordinary is really about peeling back those layers and getting back to the core of who you are. And so the steps that I'm going to go through are mostly about mindset, because I think that that's the most important. The fifth one is about logistics, because logistics can change, right? Your schedule might change. You got a new baby, you just got married, right? Got a new job. But the mindset is the thing that I think has to be ironclad. So I'll talk about mindset mostly. And I love this quote from Gandhi, which explores the importance of your mindset and your beliefs, your thoughts. And he says, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So the first step to activating your extraordinary It's figuring out where you are now. And for me, that is comprised of your why and your values. Your why is your reason and motivation for being, and your values are the things that guide your reason for being. So I talk a lot about the why being something very specific and very powerful to you, not to society, not what you should be doing, not what you're supposed to be doing, but specific to you. And I love telling this story of my friend Alonzo, who went to the doctor a series of times, and the doctor was trying to explain to him, like, you got to stop eating how you're eating. And the first time he explained it, he's like, I got to take the medical route. If you keep eating how you're eating, your heart is going to be this big. You're 90% at risk for this. And he's like, yeah, doc, yeah, I got it. Doesn't change anything. The second time he goes, the doc's like, okay, I'm going to describe it to you in terms of physical changes. You won't be able to walk up the steps without breathing really hard, right? And you're not going to be able to taste things the same. He's like, yeah, I got it. And the third time, the doctor's like, I don't know how else to describe this to you. If you keep eating the way you're eating, you're not going to be able to spend another summer playing with your children. And that woke him up. He was like, oh, okay, that's it. Every time he didn't want to go to the gym or he wanted to eat that bag of potato chips, best believe he was thinking of what the doctor said. His why was spending summers playing with his children. So I'll ask you, Sasha, do you know your why? What is your reason for being? What's your motivation?
Uh, this might sound weird, but I like to make people happy. My why is to spread joy and support people. And I mean, if I can make a living and live comfortably doing it, all the better. But I mean, some of my long-term goals are things like opening a pet shelter and, bringing all of the people I know and love out here to live off the land rurally like I do. So I'm a helper. My why is to really spread that.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love that why, and I see you light up when you talk about it, and I can tell it's your motivation. I think of my why as like when I'm in my bed and I'm all snuggled up and it's so warm I don't want to get out. I see this like neon green sign flash above me, and it's like that's my why, and I get up and I hop up out of bed. So I encourage our listeners to take some time to develop a why that's very specific and really powerful to you. The next one is the value. So if your why is the motivation, the values are like those people at the airport, those air traffic controllers with the neon green. They're showing you where to go, and the values are so important from an alignment standpoint and an energy standpoint. So have you ever, Sasha, done anything where you're like, I'm just drained. This is a draining task, like this job or this task or this decision, it's just really draining me. Have you ever had
Oh
to
God.
that?
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of times when we do things like that, it's because we're out of alignment with our values. So knowing your values, I think, is important when you are making decisions, when you are picking things, to have those in mind. My top three are fun, authenticity, and autonomy. So when I'm faced with, should I go to this conference? Should I try this out? Should I partner with this person? I check in with my values and I say, okay, am I going to be engaging those top three? And sometimes it's a matter of bringing them into whatever you're coming to. So at my job, I was missing lots of fun, but I could bring that to it. But the autonomy piece I didn't have, and I had to step away in order to get that. So sometimes it's about bringing it, and sometimes it's about going to find it elsewhere. So I would encourage you to also think about your values. For me, it's most helpful when I think about concepts that are most important to me. So when you're thinking about what do I have to have? What comes up? Family, growth, love, spirituality. Think of those things and keep those at the top of your mind. The second step to activating your extraordinary, if I can pull it up, is where do you want to go? And this I categorize as your goals and your BHAG. So we won't spend a lot of time on the goals. These are, I think, pretty straightforward. What do you want to do in tomorrow, in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years? But the BHAG is really, really crucial. So
Oh,
BHAG,
Please tell me you're gonna break down the letter. It's like
Yes,
I love the BHAG. Please continue. Sorry.
yes. Sasha knows all about the BHAG. So BHAG is your big, hairy, audacious goal. And this is going back to what I was talking about, right? As a kid, we dreamt freely. There were no like, this is not realistic, this is not possible. If you talk to any little kid, they'll say, yeah, I want to do this and I want to do this. They're not worried about their skill sets or their intellect. They dream freely. And I want you to tap into your inner child as you form a BHAG. So I have these up here. These are some companies that you might have heard of, and to get you in the spirit of thinking big. So Amazon's BHAG is to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Not like North America or like one country's, Earth's, like the whole entire Earth, okay?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. And this is the umbrella under which all their business practices fall under. When they make decisions, they're like, okay, is this going towards becoming Earth's most customer-centric company? Cool. Yes. Are we making progress towards doing that? Great. We can do it. Microsoft, you can see a computer on every desk in every home. There's no questions here like, okay, every home, what kind of home? Every desk, does every home have a desk? They're just flat out, Microsoft wants to have a computer on every desk in every home. That's their BHAG. Facebook's is to make the world more open and connected. Again, we have words like the world, more open and connected. Some of these may seem pretty vague, but that's because they're so big. There's so many things that can fall under these BHAGs. And lastly, Google's is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So Google has like kind of a three-parter. They're going to organize all of the world's info. They're going to make it not only universally accessible, but also useful, right? So I want you to take some time to craft a huge BHAG. Don't worry about, is it possible? Can I do it in 5 years? In fact, if you can do it in the next 5 to 10 years, then it's not big enough. So I want you to dream big. Now, I could probably stop the presentation right there, right? We know where we are. We know where we're going. I should be done, right?
But that's a good foundation.
That's a foundation, but something always gets in the way, right? What gets in our way?
It's procrastination.
Procrastination. And what is that part of?
Wanting to know?
Sasha doesn't have all the answers. So this is a trick question. There was no way for her to know. But procrastination is part of it. What gets in the way are limiting beliefs, right? Ooh. These come in the form of, I'm not blank enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not tall enough. All kinds of enoughs, right? Or sometimes I hear, I'm just not like so-and-so. I'm not like her. She's so confident. I'm not like her. Or I'm not that kind of person. I'm just not a morning person. I don't do that. And sometimes I flat out hear, I can't. And it's so sad to me because it's this funny thing where we just went over our BHAGs, right? And for some reason, we doubt our dreams, but we 100% believe our fears, right? That's so strange. Why do we doubt our dreams, but believe in our fears? So the crucial question that I always ask someone when they tell me I'm not blank enough, I'm not like, or I'm not that kind of person, I say, what is that costing you? What is the cost? What are the lost opportunities? What have you missed out on by believing that belief? And alternatively, who would you be without those beliefs? So I love creating with and for my clients this thing I like to call a failure protocol. So the failure protocol is, on one half, you list like your limiting beliefs, and across from those limiting beliefs, you list a truth, another belief based in truth that counteracts that limiting belief. And that's the failure protocol is so important for 3 huge reasons. One, when we call out those fears, they start to lose their importance. And sometimes they kind of start to seem ridiculous. Can you think of like a limiting belief or a fear that you've had that once you said it out loud, it seemed kind of silly?
Oh goodness. Yes, of course.
Do you want to share one?
Um,
'Cause I
how
have a
about
couple.
I could never be an executive because I'm too tall?
Right. And when you said that in your head, you like felt that it was real. Maybe it made your heart jump a few beats and you're like, I just can't do it. It's so defeating. But when you said it out loud, how did
It
you
sounded
feel?
ridiculous. It even sounds ridiculous now. It's like, no, stupid.
Right. And so let's call out those fears. That's part of the failure protocol, is to call out those limited beliefs and fears. The second reason is once we start calling them out, we give permission for others to do so as well. So have you ever been in like a meeting or a conference where someone was like, yeah, I'm really struggling with this, or I have this question, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, me too, me too, me too, right? And it's because when we start to talk and open up our mouths, we're no longer stuck in silence, and we're not isolating ourselves. That's what keeps us stuck. We're like, well, I have this problem. No one's been through it. No one can help me. I just might as well shut up about it and I won't do anything.
And this is actually a really, really great point, because this is why a lot of people stay in relationships that aren't necessarily healthy for them, stay in jobs that aren't necessarily healthy for them. And I mean, part of what we're here to combat is that I can't, or the I can'ts, really.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And we're so scared because we think we're the only one going through that, right? We talk about abuse, and like even abuse in the workplace, right? We take crap from people that we wouldn't take from anybody else. We're like, why am I doing this? Or I've had friends who have been harassed at work and they think they're the only one, and they start to speak up and people are like, "Oh, me too, me too." So the third reason why the failure protocol is so important is because it takes I'm a person who I think I believe in the law of attraction. I get some pushback about people that are like, I don't want to invite failure. I'm writing these failures down. I don't want to invite it into my life. But this is kind of preempting the inevitable, right? You know you're going to have bad days. You know you're going to have doubts in your mind. These are natural and normal. You're a human being. You're going to have fears when you do something new. So why not preemptively address them and have something in place when it happens so that you can counter them? So again, the failure protocol, you're going to list your fears. So Sasha said she can't be an executive because she's too tall. And then the counter of that fear on the other side, well, what's the truth? What's the counter based in truth on the other side that you would put?
I personally have known some very tall executives. My dad was an executive, and he's taller than I am. And I've met some amazing women who are taller than I am, and they are executives or even more. And just a very strange little belief, because people always used to natter at me for being too tall, and it developed into this reason why I couldn't advance rather than anything else. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. So I would encourage folks that are listening. We often have the same limiting beliefs and fears over and over. It happens when we start to do something new or unfamiliar or uncomfortable. We bump up against these excuses. List those and list the counter that's based in truth. So I'm going to move on to the fourth step. If I can pull it up, here we go. Yes. So the fourth step to activating your extraordinary are radical mindset shifts. And so when I say radical, I'm not really talking about like the revolution is happening. I'm more so talking about things for me that are so small, but that can change your life. These are not things that you need to really practice or memorize or, write down. They're kind of more like once you know, you just know. And sometimes you might need to revisit or think about them again. But once you see them, they cannot be unseen. So, Sasha, you see the FedEx sign, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're familiar with FedEx, right?
Well, I mean, who isn't?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the white arrow in this logo?
No.
Look between the E and the X.
Oh, there's a little
A
arrow there,
little
isn't there?
white arrow.
Oh, that's
Now,
adorable.
yes, and now I bet you every time you see the FedEx logo, you will see this white arrow. And that's the
I
kind
will
of
remember this conversation.
and that's what I'm talking about. These mindset shifts, once you see them, you can't unsee them, right? So I'm going to start with 5 that I think are really important. They've been really important in my life and in the lives of my clients. The first is the victim versus owner mentality. And this really has to do with language that we use. So the victim mentality says that all this stuff, life is happening to me. There's nothing I can do. Woe is me. I have no power. The owner mentality says, okay, even though I can't control what happens to me, I can control my response. And that's a freedom that no one can ever take away from me. Owners own their reactions, they own their experiences, they own their feelings. And so the difference between being an owner and victim is the power that you hold, or the power you believe that you hold. So I don't think anyone's an owner 100% of the time or a victim 100% of the time. But for me and my clients, I encourage them to try to be an owner more than you're a victim, right? The second one is the power of and this is another one about language, but it also has to do with just a mindset of choices. As in society, we're just taught to think in binary terms, right? This either A or B, door 1 or door 2. And so we limit ourselves with those possibilities. When you put the and in there instead of the or the but, you open up your universe. So, right, I might think, okay, well, if I do this, here are the 2 outcomes. It's either I'll fail or I'll do really well. When I could fail and do well at the same time, right? I had an online launch that was really, really rushed. Success, right? We have moms who are also business owners, and you can be a wife and anything you want to be. So using that and opens up the possibilities. I put harnessing the power of thought on here because I love the idea that we're one thought away from happiness. So the human brain, I think the brain can think like 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And they're going by so fast, like a train, right? Like there's these thoughts, they're just going by, going by. But sometimes we hop on the train and we go to the station, we kind of sit there, we sit in those thoughts. Those could be our limiting beliefs, right? Sometimes I sit at the station and my limiting belief way too long. And I forget that I can hop on and go anytime. And I love setting the scene of like, people are like, well, it's never that fast, Stephanie. You can't just change your thoughts. I'm like, okay, have you ever seen a scary movie where you're like so engrossed in the scary movie? You might be in the theater, you're on the edge of your chair, you're eating some popcorn, and you're like, oh my God, who's gonna get killed? And that door is like creaking open, and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And then somebody's phone goes off. How fast does that shift for you? Right? You're like, oh, okay, you're out of this reality, right? Or just like even now, right? You're listening to this conference. You've been listening all for the last couple of weeks. There's something important going on, but your head starts to drift. You're like, well, what's for dinner? What am I gonna wear tomorrow? What's on my to-do list? Did I call that person? And then you're like, oh snap! I got to get back to this. This is really important. The next one,
My
books.
favorite books, because I'm a big, big reader. So I'll read and I'll get so engrossed that I'm basically teleported somewhere else in my brain, and then somebody talks to me, and it's like, what?
And you're instantly snapped out of that reality, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And it hurts.
And that person should be punished. And the last 2 kind of mirror each other. The second to last one was feelings follow action. Now I've heard this every time I talk about feelings follow action. Someone's like, "Is this the fake it till you make it thing?" And I'm like, I don't think you have to fake it till you make it. I think that we are conditioned to believe that if we embody a certain characteristic, then we will do that. We'll do something, right? Like if I'm confident, then I'll speak in front of this stage. But really, confidence is about doing. I go on stage and speak, and then I start to feel confident, and I do it more and more, and I become more and more confident. So if you don't feel that thing, you got to do it so that you can start feeling it. For me, this is working out 101. Whoever feels like working out. But once you start working out, then you feel like working out. You start to build these habits. And when you come up against that again, you remember back to the last time where you did that thing. And often that thing is such a small on the radical mindset shifts was baby steps equal progress, right? So we don't have to do this overwhelming thing. It's not like I got to go to the gym for 3 hours. Baby steps are progress, and consistency is better than quantity. So I would rather my clients walk for 10 minutes per day for the whole year rather than go to the gym for 3 hours for one day and never go back the rest of the year. And think about how those baby steps add up over time. 10 minutes over a whole year. Think about that impact, right? This is also helpful for the failure protocol because I think when we have a bad day, we try to have some like grand gesture or act in order to get out of that funk. So we're like, okay, I had a bad day. Now I have to do like twice the work tomorrow. But we often don't see that baby step that we need to take. Like for me, sometimes it's like cleaning up. It's like, okay, I can't do anything today. I just need to clean up my house. I need to clean out my emails. I have to take some steps towards progress so that I don't get too overwhelmed and acclimating myself back into something else. Do you have some examples of baby steps that you take that seem really small in the moment, but then they add up to something big, or they're progress nonetheless?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know what? This is probably going to sound really strange, but after leaving a Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, environment, I could not remember what freaking day of the week it was for the life of me. I used to I have it set to call my grandmother every Sunday because I'm a good girl, and I'll miss it completely, and I'll call her. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, it's Wednesday, and I'm like, oh, for God's sakes. So my baby step, I mean, quite literally, I had to put an alarm on my phone, and every time it went off, I would check the date. What day is it? It's Friday. Okay. What day is it? Oh, it's Saturday. Okay. Baby steps. But now, for the most part, I can tell you what day it is without having to check my phone.
Yeah.
But, it's been a work in progress, and that's helped me structure and get a little bit more organized because as soon as I had the freedom of working from home and being an entrepreneur, I just started working all the time. So it was a baby step, but it led to a whole lot of balance.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example. That's actually huge in the swing of things, but it seems so small in the moment. We have to treat those baby steps like they're just as big as anything else that we could possibly do.
Yeah, and it really was. It was hard, but I mean, it was the silliest little thing on the planet. But I'm glad that I committed to it because it's made a huge difference.
Yes. And notice how we put that judgment on that baby step, right? You're like, it's silly, it's ridiculous, it's so small, but it was huge for you in terms of balance. So I applaud you. I think that's great.
Yeah, and you totally called me out on the whole self-deprecating comments. No, you know what? I love it because I know that that's not the appropriate thing to do, but I'm not going to shit on myself either.
Don't shit on yourself. Do not shit on yourself. That's bad. That's bad. Okay, we made it to the last step of how to activate your extraordinary. And I talked about logistics. And like I said, these can always change. But I think it's really, really important to have some kind of infrastructure or system, some kind of accountability, and then some kind of evaluation period. So when I talk about infrastructure and system, I mean, if you want to make any kind of change in your life, you got to have a system to support that. I had a client who wanted to get up 3 hours earlier to start working out and making all these changes and doing all this stuff, but he was going to bed at the exact same time, right? So very simply, you have to make shifts that make sense in the context of what you want to change. And so if people always ask me, well, where do I start? How do I start? I don't have enough time. I got to talk to all these people. I tell them start with an audit and a purge, okay? And this isn't in terms of time and people. So I would encourage you to think about and actually write down a typical week and a typical weekend. How do you spend your time and your hours? For me, I did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So like a typical end of the week, typical weekend. And I looked at the amount of time I spent doing whatever task. One, it showed me a lot of my patterns. Like, when did I get sleepy? I told Sasha earlier today, I get tired around 3 o'clock every day. I have this low. That's not a great time to start doing work, right? I found that I work best in the mornings. I got to get some of my most important tasks done in the morning. I also found that I had to call myself on some BS because I said, I don't have time for this and that. Yet I was watching so much TV. Right. So I had to cut back on the TV hours. I was like, I just couldn't believe over 4 days how much TV I watched. So then I had to purge some items. And I actually did the same with friends. I said, okay, what is the basis of my friendship with these folks? When I talked in the beginning about being on autopilot and, kind of going through the motions, I was friends with a lot of people, and the basis of our friendship was gossip. So I'm like, I'm spending 4 hours gossiping with you, talking crap about other people. I have some other things to do, So, and I don't mean literally purge, like kill them. I mean, spend less time with them. Okay. The second one is organize. And I just completed like a 14-day book writing challenge. And the lady said something like, published authors don't have like organized houses, which is true. Like, when you're working on something, when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, your house is messy and things are chaotic. I encourage you to get organized at least in one corner of your house. Is that where you work? Is that your timeout corner? Right? I got a timeout corner. Okay. So it's like, here, I have to be organized here. The whole rest of the house could be a mess. Where I work has to be organized. Right.
Now,
Do you have a home
I
office?
absolutely love that imagery, and I'm going to share my own little anecdote because you know what that made
Yeah.
me think of? We have a hedgehog named Rose Tyler, and she has no problems throwing fluff here and there and running on her wheel and making a mess, but her little hut has to be just so, and she'll spend so much time just rearranging her fluff to make it just the way she wants. And I mean, you're like, oh yeah, just organize your little work corner, the whole house, and all I can picture is myself, reorganizing my fluff with my hedgehog. So I really do love the analogy, and I agree. I think it's really important to have a relatively organized workspace because clutter affects the way our brains work.
Yeah, sometimes that lack of clarity or that confusion is due to the chaos, the physical chaos that you have going on. So I love this. I love the hedgehog. I just love that. That's so cute. Rose Tyler. I think that's adorable.
Yeah, the little Rose Tyler, and she's taught me a lot.
Oh my gosh. Good, good. Well, the last two were display and schedule. So what I mean by display is we've talked about your why, your values, you got your failure protocol. Um, where can you put those where you can remember? A lot of people put them on the screen of their phone, right? A lot of my clients, when I see them in person, they'll be like, I put my major focus, my why, my values, my failure protocol. Do you want to put them on your mirror? For me, I put them on my dresser. You have to display them so you can remember. Where can you access them when you need them, right? And as far as your schedule, I really think it's important to block out time for the things that you need to get done, but also block out time for your extracurriculars, right? What are the things that you love to do that you need to spend time doing that you need to carve out? So a lot of women that I coach have problems with this, and I have a very simple solution. What's your alter ego's name? Do you have an alter ego, Sasha? Most women.
Oh my gosh, funny story. Sasha used to be the alter ego. I just legally changed my name. So I have become my alter ego. But I guess most people do have that, almost duplicitous side, that other side.
They have their other side. Now, this is going towards you are able to do stuff for other people, but not for yourself, right? So my alter ego is Gigi, and I schedule time for Gigi every day. Now, if it said Stephanie, I would just skip it. But because it's Gigi, I must take time. So figure out your alter ego. What's your alter ego's name? Schedule time for your alter ego, aka yourself. And it is so important to take time for yourself. As women, we play all these roles, right? We're wives, mothers, daughters, co-workers, right? And so we keep giving. We give, and we don't fill ourselves up. And we literally, at the end of the day, turn that cup over. There's not a drop left in there. We have to spend time filling ourselves up. So get yourself on your schedule.
And, and that's another one that we've seen as a theme throughout this conference is that whole make sure your own cup is full, because how can you pour from an empty cup, right? So I love to hear that we've come back to that analogy again, because it's really that core essential that we're learning as we're advancing as a society, is that self-care is the basis to our being able to care for others.
Exactly. 100%. I 100% agree. The second point with the logistics is accountability. And this is not only a who, but a what. I 100% strongly believe that you should have an accountability system, right? Whether this is online or offline, this is someone in person, a coach, a friend, a mentor, someone who can help you, who's on your team, someone who can motivate you, call you on your BS, who can, provide resources for you, or just listen to you when you need it. And the what, I've listed some apps and some technology that I use to keep me accountable. Mainly the Stay Focused, that one for Chrome, that's a Chrome extension that I use the nuclear option, which means it blocks all websites except the ones I'm supposed to be on, which is usually none. So if you are someone who's always like spending 3 hours on Facebook, or you're like, where did the time go, right? When you're conducting that time audit, use accountability tools and measures to keep you honest. Evernote is, I'll really quickly go through some of them. Evernote is a digital notebook. So I was one who had 50 notebooks, and I have clients that have like a notebook and then an online thing and then like Post-its and all kinds of stuff. Evernote is a digital notebook that you can get on your phone as well as use on your computer, and you can have different notebooks and do audio notes and draw and all kinds of stuff. FutureMe.org is also really great. You can send an email to your future self. So you can say, like, in a year, I want to get an email that says this. And then some of the other ones have to do with, setting a goal, putting money behind it, or donating to a charity or like a political candidate that you may not be fond of if you don't get your stuff done. So all these go towards accountability. Sasha, do you have any accountability measures that you use?
Oh my gosh. So absolutely. I use Trello, which my whole team is on. And they can pester me and assign me to things and make a ding in my inbox. I actually have one going off for after this meeting. So yay for Trello. But on top of that, I use OneNote so that I keep my own notes. And then on top of that, I'm in several different business groups for accountability, so that even if I don't want to motivate myself, they can yell at me and motivate me.
Yes, that's so important, right?
Like Shank Minds. I'm part of Shank Minds, which, by the way, game changer, extraordinary for the entrepreneur. But we just did a 2017 goal list thing, and we're going to have accountability dates. So a whole tons of stuff. And you know what? Since I started to employ a lot of these accountability techniques, I've been able to increase business. I've been able to do all sorts of amazing things that I wouldn't have been able to do if somebody didn't stand there with a fork going, hey,
do this. Yeah, that's amazing. That's really great. I'll share one that I just recently did. I spoke at a conference this weekend, and we all made a bucket list. It was a 100-item bucket list. And I wrote on there something vague like, I want to do my own conference. I want to have my own conference. And the person who put on the conference said, well, when is your conference, Stephanie? I was like, I don't know, May 20th. And she's like, yay, who else is going to Stephanie's conference on May 20th? We're going to hold you accountable for the next 6 months. I was like, oh, crap. I really got to do it. So every day since then, it's been, 3 or 4 days. Everyone's like, I'm getting my passport. I'm ready to go to Stephanie's conference May 20th. What steps did you take today, right? So it's motivation, and it's pushing us towards our goal. It's part of that, like I talked about the failure protocol. There's other people in this with you, right? And I've already had like 50,000 doubts about it. I'm like, oh wait, what did I get myself into? What did I agree to?
Oh no, now what?
Now I really got to do this. Now I actually have to do this. And then the last step of logistics is just the evaluation period. We should not be waiting a whole entire year to reevaluate our New Year's goals, right? People wait till January 1st and then they break them all by February 1st and then they wait till the next year. It really should be a periodic evaluation, right? Every quarter, every couple months. And as you look at what's happened and the goals that you set out, I always encourage folks to look at it as an experiment rather than a plan, right? The plan is so rigid. It's like, I gotta do this plan. It has to work or else I'm screwed. I have to have this plan. The experiment makes it a little lighter, right? Then you're like, oh, there's a hypothesis. Maybe this will work. Maybe this won't. I'm invested in the journey, but not necessarily the outcome. So I'm willing to try this and let's see how it went. And once you look back during that period, you can look at what happened as data points, right? Okay, well, when I did this, this worked. When I did this, it didn't work. So now let me reorient myself and let me re-implement these things. Let me change this. Let me tweak this. And keep doing that as throughout the year so that you don't wait until the end of the year to start this process. If you haven't already started on your January 1st, your New Year's goals, everything for 2017, you must start today. Start today. You're already too late. So start today. And that's really all that I have. I always want to hear from folks about what resonated with you. What did you have questions about? Did you have any takeaways or ahas? Or I sometimes hear that folks are like, well, I've heard this a few different times, a few different ways. I'm just wondering about this. If you have any questions or you want to email me your number one takeaway to slghosto@gmail.com, I will schedule you for a 30-minute complimentary session. We'll go over your question or your takeaway in depth. And then I have coaching packages, and I'm happy to enroll you in some of the programs I have going on for next year. I want you to have an extraordinary 2017, and hopefully I can help support you do that.
And it's been one of those years that I think a lot of people are really looking forward to moving into the new year and getting that fresh start. So why not do something like this and get the fresh start that's really going to kickstart you? And guys, that accountability piece, even if you have to email Stephanie or me, I don't care. Find yourself someone to help you be accountable. It's not just for fitness, it's for anything that you need to achieve, because it's so much easier when you have something external to yourself to commit to. Now, I personally, definitely one of those that will work myself into the ground. But when my husband comes in and pounces and says he's not getting any of my time, obviously, I can put everything away.
Yes. So that's all I have. I'm honored to, share this wisdom with you guys, and I hope it was helpful, and I hope to hear from you.
Oh, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. Now, this is the part where we get to do a little bit more shameless promo type stuff. Now, I mean, other than just your email, do you have a website where they can find you? Are you on Facebook, Twitter? Give these guys options, and they'll find you.
Yes, on everything, I'm Cultivated Sense. So Cultivated, sense as in common sense, SENSE. So on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/cultivated sense, twitter.com/cultivated sense. Instagram is instagram.com/cultivated sense. And then my website is just my full name. So StephanieGhoston.com, GHOSTON.
I got a good chunk of that on here. So I actually posted those links up for you guys, just so that you have them. So please feel free to check back. Oh, please make sure I spelled that right. I did. Okay. So they're on there for you as well. Now, hey Stephanie, did you have a chance to check out any of the amazing Freebirds fashions while you were at it?
I did. I saw some great threads. I was like, these are some really great clothes. Like, these are amazing.
And they are so comfortable. And don't forget you have your speakers discount, bitch. So for the rest of you out there, hey, go sign up for our newsletter. We do have promotions running here and there. But just remember these amazingly comfortable
So
pieces.
beautiful.
And they are so gorgeous. We do sell them. It's the freebirdprojectshop.com, and the proceeds to that. So part of what we use the money for is to sponsor amazing conferences like this, to help victims of domestic violence and survivors, like all of our Freebird panel members. So if you want to see, I think we're just about, well, this is nearly the tail end of the conference. But if you want to see some great replays, you want to watch Stephanie again, totally see that. You know, any of that good stuff, make sure you check out the freebirdproject.org and connect with us, guys. We are also on Twitter. It's the Freebirds_PROJ. And you can find us on Facebook. Gosh, we're everywhere just the same. So please come and check us out. And Stephanie, thank you so much for working with our fun technical issues, because goodness knows that was so much fun,
Yes.
and for accommodating and being here. And I've had absolutely so much fun with you. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sasha. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.